Many of you are back now. So this next gentleman, Terence, he's going to be speaking on NLP as a form of trance. Terence Jiam is from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Terence is a certified master trainer of NLP, a trainer of timeline therapy, hypnosis, and coaching. Every year in Malaysia, he conducts NLP practitioner certifications, master practitioner certifications, trainers training, and the elite master trainers program. The morphogenic power of the modalities that he teaches and shares has directly transformed his life and increased his business by 600%. He works passionately with the business owners and entrepreneurs to double their sales and turbocharge their business. His trainings are always fun, practical, and results driven. You would do well training with him. Terence believes in helping people to get the results they want by empowering them with powerful NLP tools and thinking patterns. His insights into transformational growth is sought after by many communities around the world. Currently mentoring world-class seminar trainers and coaches, his ability to train and coach leaders from diverse fields has taken him to many countries in Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, Cambodia, Korea, Timor, and as far as Australia and Europe. In his free time, Terence travels, reads, scuba dives with his seminar leaders. Let's welcome Terence. Terence, where are you?
I am here.
Hello, good to see you again.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, everybody. It's really good. I see some familiar faces. Arthur, been a long time. We need to catch up. Bagesh, do you remember me? Okay, so it's really, really good. Well, I'm going to be talking about NLP as a form of trance, and I would like to just share screen with you, and then we're going to take you on this journey and what I have learned and discovered. All right, so let me just do this. Everybody see this? Are we good? Yes?
Yes.
Wonderful, boss. Okay, so here's the question. Here's the question. How did we get here? How did you get here? Is there how did you end up here? How did we all end up here? Is there something you saw, something you heard, something you felt? What was the criteria? How did you sign up? How did you decide to be in this conference? Share with me. Type, say something. And then after sorting out all the information you need, what did you say to yourself? Something to think about. Really. How did we get here? Yeah. 100% of people who do something get something. Do you agree? Yes. And
Yes.
I'm just thanks, really. I'm not just talking to the people that is here. Whoever that's going to be watching the video, is the same thing. Do you agree? 100% of people who do something get something. Yeah. And so I'm thinking about whatever I'm going to share, how is it going to be useful for everyone that is here and those of us that's going to watch the video, the recordings later on. And I've decided that if we're going to do this and it's going to be meaningful to you, then we will have to do something. So I want you to just imagine, how different would your life be? How different would your life be if you are more motivated to get your goals? How different would it be? Or how different would the people around you, how different would your clients be if they are more focused? What about your students? How different would it be if they are in your trainings, they are on track in terms of what they need to learn? What about your kids? For those of us who are parents, how different would it be if your kids are progressing in their journey as they are growing up, as you are raising them? Yeah. So the question here is this, that if we are to do something and to get what we want, then obviously there are a number of things that we need to look into. And so here we go. Now, for those of us who are trained in NLP, we know this is our very basic basis of all our techniques is based on the NLP communication model. And that is that it talks about all our external experiences are internally represented. Yeah. And so it's represented visually in terms of pictures, colors, things like that, auditory, the sound that we remember, kinesthetic, the feelings, olfactory, gustatory, and auditory digit. And self-talk, basically, that's what we talk about. So if we are going to look into this, I want to talk about the self-talk part, which is often overlooked because most of the time when we talk about NLP, we touch on visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and self-talk. And out of these 4 areas that we focus on, there seems to be less emphasis on self-talk. Not that there is no emphasis, just less emphasis. And my exposure to NLP began in the year 2005. That's about almost 19 years ago. And the number of trainings that I've done with NLP and speaking to people about NLP and watching and meeting NLP practitioners, master practitioners, even trainers. This is one element that I felt that is often overlooked. So we're going to do this a little bit different. So first and foremost, I want everybody to pick a goal that is important to you. All right, right now. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, just write this down. Pick a goal that is important to you right now. And write that down. Good. So what is this thing called self-talk? I went and just type it out. Dictionary.com says the act of talking to oneself aloud or mentally. Yeah. But I like what the researcher explains about self-talk. It is the ongoing internal thoughts and conversation we have with ourselves and are usually manifested in verbal or non-verbal ways, and it influences how we feel and behave. So as you are writing this goal that you had, the first thing I want you to tell me or write down, when you think of that goal, what are your thoughts and what are your verbal or non-verbal ways of talking? What is your self-talk? What are your internal thoughts and what are your conversations that you have as you think about your goal? Because when you think about self-talk, there are basically 3 types of self-talk. You have the positive self-talk, which is everything that you say in a very positive way. You have a neutral self-talk, which is mostly going to be instructional. And also, sometimes we have negative self-talk as well. So I want you to take note of what is your self-talk. And if you could just share with me, what are some of the self-talk that you have? Are you writing it? I'm just going to check whether you're writing it in the...
I would say mine's leaning towards positive. for it, but I find myself asking how. But I think how's a positive outlook.
Okay, good. Others? What about the others? Okay, well, Luha would say that normally it's positive and sometimes negative. Okay, normal. Thank you for being honest. What about the rest? Exciting yet scary. Good, 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 good. Now, when you think about this self-talk, when it's positive, usually is things like you say to yourself that
there's a bit of an echo.
Yeah. Okay, we're good. Good. Let me just check. Is it Bagesh, are you having your mic on? Okay, is that good? Everyone?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. I like what Billy is talking about. Before learning NLP in 92, didn't even realize it. Okay. Okay, wonderful. All right. So when you talk about this positive self-talk, is usually what we will say, things like you will say to yourself, like, I'm gonna ace the certification. I'm gonna get this done, and it's really it's gonna be a fantastic training, or I'm gonna get this goal, and when I get it, it's gonna be blissful. Yeah. So something like that. And then the neutral one are usually more instructional, as I mentioned just now. Is things like, stay focused, look up and reach for the bar, things like that. And the negative are things like, I don't think I'm gonna make it, things like that, or I'm losing it, things, yeah. So that's the types of talk that we have. Now, the psychological functions associated with self-talk. These are the few of the psychological functions that is associated with self-talk. One is that there is this reasoning that we do with ourselves, and it will look into whether things make sense for us or not. So I want you to now think about it. What are the reasoning that you give to yourself when you think about your goals that you want to achieve? As you think about how important that goal is, are there certain reasonings that comes up? How does it make sense to you? And then we also look into problem solving. So another area is about solving problem, that we sort of go around thinking like, how do I solve this problem? I could do this, I could do that, I could do this. What are my options? Those are the processes that we run through, but it's internal dialogue. Yeah, working towards solving a problem. Or even planning things like, how do I plan my my steps? What do I need? So it's organizing it. And these are basically, the study is based on people who are in corporate. They have been 10 years of leading people, corporate leaders. And these are the functions that they associate their self-talk with. And if you think about it, we do the same thing as well. We plan what we want to achieve. We plan what we want to do. We also do this, we plan our execution, like our milestones, the actions that we want to take, the things that we want to do. Things on attention, paying attention to what is important to us. Where will our focus going to be? Yeah. So, and then last but not least is motivation. How do we get ourselves motivated? What gets us up, and what are the things that actually keeps us going. So I want you to look at whatever that you have as you set up for your goals right now. And I want you to look into these few areas, which is the reasonings, what makes sense to you, and the problem solving. Is there going to be an obstacle along the way? Do you foresee that there might be some detours? Do you foresee that there will be things that challenges that you have? How are you going to solve it? That's part of you solving a problem. What are the plans that you have? How do you want to tackle this? Yeah. And look into your plan of execution as well. So I want you to just take some time and just write down some of these things. Okay? Good. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to just very quickly write that out and then share with me. Good. Okay, can somebody share with me what have you written down? Would somebody like to share? Anybody? Yes? No? Do you need more time?
Terence, ask the question again.
Would somebody like to share some of the things that you've written down in terms of your reasoning, your problem solving, your planning? I would just like to know a little bit so that we can guide it through.
You mean with the respect to the goal?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can share with you.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. So my goal is to buy a property by the 2nd of December this year.
Okay.
So with the reasoning, my reasoning being this is part of an investment strategy. In terms of problem solving, I run through criteria and I have a checklist of what it is that I'm looking for in a property. And if my checklist isn't minimum 90% tick, then I'm not going to proceed. My planning is I focus on specific areas where I'm going to invest because of what's happening in the property market, what's happening with capital growth. So I plan according to the areas where I want to invest. And my plan execution, I use a timeline where I go, all right, if I want to buy something by the 2nd of December, I work backwards and focus on what I'm going to do each week. And my attention is solely on the suburbs or parts of Australia that I want to focus on. I won't divert from my attention to that. And I work with 3 real estate agents. That helps with the attention and the focus so that I'm not spending my time looking for properties. I'm really more interested in what's off market before it even gets to market. And my motivation is this is part of my investment future.
All right. Okay, wonderful, Gina. So here's the thing, everybody, when you're writing all this down, right? So the one thing that I want you to notice is that does the thought runs through like a self-talk to you? And does it falls under any of the 3 categories? Is it positive? Is it neutral? Or is it negative? Yeah. So I want you to take note of that because we're going to come back to that later on. That's part of the whole process. I would like to hear from you so that I know we are on the same track. Okay. So today we're going to talk about the impact of self-talk, and I want to focus on 3 areas that we on this self-talk. One of it is about decision making and how self-talk impacts decision making, and how self-talk impacts our self-esteem and our self-concept in terms of our how we see ourselves, and also our performance. All right. So the role of, if you think about self-talk and the role of self-talk in decision making, it has 3 different roles. One is that it facilitates the process of the decision making. So when we think about facilitating the process of decision making, we're thinking about our internal dialogue is usually about the analysis. It's about weighing the pros and cons. It's about looking at what are the benefit of this. What if I do? What do I need to sacrifice? So self-talk also helps to facilitate our decision making, because as we have the conversation with us, this helps us to make certain decisions. Yeah. So that's an important part. The other thing about this self-talk is about also regulating us. It's almost like a self-regulation mechanism. And what it does is that it gives us almost like we are giving ourselves instructions as to what we are supposed to do. Okay? So it helps us to actually think of the things that we need to do so that we stay on track. And this is in the process, yeah, of us making a decision. Say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay on this lane. I'm going to make sure I run this through. These are usually instructions that we give to ourselves as to what do we need to do, yeah. And the third area in terms of decision making also is I think Kai talks about it, like is the ethical issue. This is your ethical or your moral guide. Things like this is the right thing to do. We should be nice to people. It's almost like it's guiding you in terms of what you hold as is important to you, as what is ethical for you. And so if you think about this, the role of the self-talk in decision-making is actually quite important, because you're having the conversation with yourself. You're having this uncritical flow of communication with yourself. Yeah. And you're having this running it through. So that's on the role of decision-making. Now, let's look at self-esteem. What some of the research has shown was that in terms of self-talk and self-esteem, there are really 2 types or categories of this that you can categorize in terms of the self-talk as regards to self-esteem. and one is about the self-criticism. Now, the study is actually based on how self-talk affects self-esteem and how it is related to depression. And what they normally see is that if there is if it's a lot of self-criticism, then what will happen is that the correlation is that they find that the people tend to be more depressed. That's the connection. Now we think about it, why is it? Because self-criticism usually comes with a lot of judgment. It comes with like, I'm not good enough, or I shouldn't do this, and we bash ourselves. We punish ourselves, and sometimes I think when it comes to punishing ourselves, we are a lot more unforgiving than when we deal with other people. Do you agree? Do you think about it? We are more judgmental with us. So when you think about self-esteem and self-talk, you will realize that the self-criticism really is something that affects us, because it leads to us feeling that we are less than. Yeah. And then they realize that there is also another category for those people who have a lot of self-reinforcement. They tend to look at life differently. They tend to have better self-concept of themselves, and they are able to operate, they are able to approach life very differently. They are able to look at their environment very differently. And so what are some of the statements that comes out? Self-criticism will be things like, I'm not good, I'm bad at this, and sometimes it can be really, really harsh. Self-reinforcement sounds something like, I can do this. I can make this through. I can go through this. I can learn whatever I need to learn. And we think about it in our own lives. All of us have gone through this in some point of our lives, right? There are times that we face obstacles, and we face a challenge that we don't think we can, and we go into that spiral where we go into self-criticism. And there are times that we face a challenge, and for some reason we're able to dig deep, and then we tell ourselves that we can get through this. We know in our trainers training, the process of our trainers training is to design in such a way that you are challenged, that you have to deal with certain issues that comes up. And it is those that is able to reinforce themselves, that has their own internal dialogue, their own self-talk that says that, you know what, it is not easy, but I can get through this. Yeah. So it's very interesting to note this. And what we find from the research is that people who have more self-criticism, self-esteem goes down. Self-concept gets distorted. Yeah. Whereas people who have self-reinforcement actually find that they look at themselves different in their environment. Interesting. Next is self-talk and performance. Now, study shows that when it comes to, and especially there's a lot of study that talks about self-talk and performance in the areas of sports. And in the areas of performance, there are really two types of self-talk. You have the instructional self-talk, which are things like they give themselves instructions so that they can focus. It's almost like things like eyes on the target, eyes on the goals, breathe and relax. Things like that to keep themselves, in that lane. We say that they're in the zone. Yeah. And then there is the motivational self-talk. Motivational self-talks, example of it is, let's give it our best. Let's go out there and give it our all. Let's go and serve the people. Let's go and do this. Let's make sure that we swing it correctly, make sure that our strokes are fine. These are motivational self-talk that they tell themselves and they get all really pumped up. Yeah. And they notice that people who have a positive self-talk, it affects the performance. And negative self-talks will cause the performance to go down. Yeah. So these are the things that affects our performance. So we know that self-talk has a role to play in our decision making. We know that self-talk has an impact in terms of how we see ourselves, our self-image, our self-esteem, our self-concept. And we know that self-talk has an impact in terms of our performance. So that we know all this right now, so the question is this: what do we do now? Because I like to look at the practical application. So what do we do now and how is this useful for us as coaches, trainers, those of us who are parents, or even business owners, or etc. Yeah. So these are the thinking that I have. So we know this. So it boils down to the 3 types of self-talk. Whether you have a tendency to have a lot of positive self-talk or a lot of negative self-talk. Neutral self-talks are instructional that you give to yourself, and it boils down to really these 2. So if you look at what you did just now, think about what is it that caused you to write those statements. Yeah, think about it. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place where it's positive in terms of the IR? Or is it coming from a negative point of IR, means I want to avoid certain things? So that's what it is. Now, if you can notice that, which is no easy thing because I don't know where the numbers come from. There are people that says that we have roughly about 64,000 thoughts, internal dialogue with ourselves every day. Some numbers are 70,000+, some are go up to 100,000. I do not know. All I know that there is a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. And if you think about it from a achievement standpoint, from having the kind of life that you want to have, where is the self-talk coming? Now, again, the question is, how different would it be? How different would your training be if you are trainers? How different would your coaching be if you are coaches? How different would your health and fitness be? How different would your family be if you are parents, kids? How different would your life be if you are able to manage the self-talk? Yeah. And it is something that is so unconscious in all of us. So here's the thing. How do we add this self-talk in terms of to what we are doing? So let's look at adding the self-talk and the process. So number 1, pick a goal. Pick a goal that is very clear and specific. That's number 1. Yeah, you pick a goal. And now you identify what are the self-talk that is attached to that goal. This is the part that I would ask you to be honest. What do you say to yourself as you think about the goal? Yeah? Do you say things that is positive? Do you say things that is negative? Now, when you think of the goal, obviously, you will say, look, yeah, I definitely want this, I want that and all. But were there moments in your day that doubt creeps in? Were there moments where things are not going as smoothly as you like? During those moments, what are your self-talk? Now, it's easy to talk about this right now, but when it's actually happening, it happens so fast and so unconscious. How do we catch it? Yeah? Now, here is when if you identify anything that is negative, Then the next process is to remove the negative self-talk with timeline therapy. Why do I say that? Because timeline therapy is a process where you can use to remove all the limiting decisions. You know this, you are trained in this. At least those of us who have trained in this, you know this. Because when you remove the limiting decisions, the self-talk becomes different. For example, I used to have, I'm a little bit embarrassed to mention this. I used to have a limiting decision that sounds something like this. I cannot make enough money in my business. I do not know how many of you have experienced this. I personally have experienced this. I was already running a business. I was already doing business. I was already doing training. And the result wasn't great. The result was not great. Is it enough for me to get by? Yes, the answer is yes. Was it great? No, it wasn't. Until I learned timeline therapy. And then during one of the exercises that we do in our training was to remove one limiting decision. And we were told to pick a limiting decision that will have the greatest impact, the greatest amount of change. And so I picked this one. Initially, I was hesitant because I would have to mention what's the limiting decision. And then you have all sorts of funny things that run through your head, yeah? It's like, how will people look at me and la 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 and all these things. Anyway, I made the decision. I say, never mind, if they know, it doesn't matter. And so sheepishly, I just mentioned, I say that mine is I cannot make enough money. And my partner runs through the process with me and then we clear it. Yeah. And I remember during the test and future pace. So it says, so now what do you think of that decision and what do you think of the goal? And say, honestly, I feel I just want to run out of this hotel right now and stand at the street corner and start selling my training. I came back, and this was in Australia, yeah? So I came back about a few weeks later. And in the next 30 days after the removing of the limiting decision, my business went up 600%, 6 times. Until today, if you ask me, how did you do it? This is why I say to you, I really don't know how I did it. All I knew was I went out and I got the sales. And then it went on to be 500%, 5 times what I used to do every month for the next few months. I do not know how many months. And for the rest of the people that have heard my story, the business has been keep on going up, to the point where the natural thing to say to me when I think about my business is that if that particular week, let's say for the next 3 days, business is not coming in, it's slow, all I do is that I'm just going to make it happen. So I personally feel that if you use timeline therapy to remove the negative self-talk, is very, very powerful because you remove the limiting decision and then it changes. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting to actually look into this. Now, then what do you do? Now you remove the negative. So what do you do? Next is this one. Decide what self-talk will get you going. Now you notice that the process is remove the limiting, the negative self-talk first if you identify. Now only you decide what is the self-reinforcement self-talk that you need to put in. that will get you going. Because it's sometimes it's very easy for us to come up with a statement that we want to have from the aspiration factor. I want to, I want to just state it because it's the most positive thing to do. And the idea here is about being honest with yourself. So you remove the limiting decision, and now you go in and now you talk about the reinforcement. Why do we do this? Is because as long as you have the limiting decision in you, it doesn't allow you to come up with anything that is congruent, that is going to be positive. Because it's a barrier, it's a wall, it breaks, it stops you. The function is to stop you. So once you remove that already, now you come back and you decide what will get you going. What are the self-reinforcement, self-talk that will get you going? And you list down the instructional ones, the positive and the specific instructional statements that will get you going. The key is to get you going. And then you also look into the motivational self-talk that will get you going. Now, I put here, includes your meta programs, your model operator sequence. What is that? For those of us who have not been trained in master practitioner, my only advice to you is get trained. Yeah? The meta program model operator sequence, for those of us who feel that this sounds familiar, is the question that we ask you, our students, what is the last thing you say to yourself just before you get out of bed? Yeah? So that's what we want you to put in. Include the model operators. For some people, it could be, I got to get up. I got to get going. Whatever the model operator is, make sure that you include it into your motivational self-reinforcement self-talk. And you put that in. Yeah? So that's what we want you to put. So that is the process. So you pick a goal, and you can do this anywhere in your own time for every areas of your life. Pick a goal, make sure it's specific and clear. Identify what is the self-talk that you have, that as you think about the goal, what are the self-talk that is attached to it. This is the part, if you can put down, just be brutally honest with yourself. It is not about other people, because this goal matters to you, not to anyone else. Be brutally honest with yourself, and if you detect any negative self-talk at all, then make sure that you remove it. Then decide what kind of self-talk that will get you going. Put in the instructional and put in the motivation. Got it? Everybody is clear? So far, so good? Wonderful. So then, now that you know this process already, and we are here, so what's next? What's next for all of us? Well, there are three things that I put here. And I think Kai mentioned it. And I don't even know what he's going to be talking about. Yeah, but it does sound very similar. Number one is deepen your knowledge. Deepen your knowledge means what? Get yourself trained. Go and learn more. Go and get yourself trained. Go and read up something. Go and learn from people. Come into conferences. Join. If you are already in the Facebook group, there are a lot of resources there, and more resources are being developed as we go along. If you are not in the Facebook group or in any of the community that is here, then talk to Candice. All right? Be in the community for the simple reason is that if you are in the community, you are in an environment that will continue to promote your growth. Here's the question. And most of us who learn how to, who get ourselves trained in NLP ends up doing coaching one way or another. Here's the question to ourselves as coaches. Are you willing to put yourself in a process that will promote your own growth? Because at the end, you decide where you're going to be. Yeah. And the last thing is go and train someone. Why? Because when you go and train somebody, it's really about having the neurology and the logical level thinking. You know, Kai was here just now and he's still around. Yeah. And I was standing the other side. I was listening to this guy say, gosh, yeah, that's really it. Then having the logical level thinking, from learning how to ride a bike to being able to go up to being the one that trains trainers or train teachers that teach kids how to ride a bike, is completely different. The depth of knowledge is completely different. Now, I want to touch on something that is connected to this, and that is having the neurology. It's not a mindset. It's not reading from a book and then I go there and I just say out loud. Now, can this introduce? When Candice asked me for my bio, she says, "Can you tell us side of training?" I say, "Sure." So you know that I go scuba diving with my students, and now they are my trainers. Yeah. And so we just came back from a scuba diving trip in a remote island that from the shore is about maybe about 1 to 2 meters deep, and then suddenly it has a 600 meters drop to the deep blue. Yeah. And this will be the first time that we are diving there, or at least I'm diving there, and I'm thinking of it, and I knew and I heard about this thing called a up current and a down current, because we're doing wall dives. Yeah. So I read about it. I watched videos of it. I took notes down what to do in case you get swept up current or you get swept down current. I took notes on it and I mentally prepared for it, because that place is known to have up current and down current. Okay. So here we are in the island. We back row from the boat. We are there. We got in. We descend. And then halfway diving, get what happened? We got hit by an up current. Now here's my question. Do you think I knew it? Do you think I was aware of it? The answer is I didn't even know it hit us. Do you know how I know that it was an up current? 1 minute later, I was up on the surface already. Now, I've already prepared for it. I've watched enough videos. I have written down my notes. I make a mental note. The night before, I was already planning for it. But did I have neurology? No, not until I got into it. And in full denial, I tried to swim back down. Yeah, it didn't work because I could hear my fin flapping on the surface of the water. So that's it. So what am I saying here? I'm saying that if you train people, you would have the neurology. The only way to have the neurology is to actually do it. So in my next dive, if I get hit by an up current, do you think I will know it? Yeah, the answer is absolutely yes. So why do I encourage you to deepen your knowledge, be in the community, and train someone? Because if you train somebody, the depth, the logical level thinking, and the depth of knowledge actually will go. And that's important, because you could hear 1,000 people talk about it, and you could watch videos on how to do training. But if you have never done it, you will not have the neurology. It's the same with what we just touched on in terms of the self-talk, the process. 100% of people who do something get something. At the end of the day, you still have to be the one doing it. Okay? So where's the trance? Where's the trance? Well, if you think about it, if you're going to, anything that wants to create trance, you need two things. You need suggestions and you need fixation. Agreed? This is a hypnosis conference. If you do not know this, I do not know what to say. Yeah? For trance to take place, you need suggestion and you need fixation. All hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And therefore, all suggestions are self-suggestions. Guess what? Self-suggestions are self-talk. NLP is about IR. If you really think about it, NLP, we focus our NLP communication model talks about the IR. Yeah? Millions of information comes through our five senses, get filtered out. Whatever there is left, 126, that is our IR, our internal representation. All internal representation are fixation. Because we talk about IR is the things that we focus on. And fixation causes trance. So NLP is about IR. All IR are fixation. And fixation causes trance. NLP as a form of trance. That's all I have for today. Stop share now, so they don't see all the interesting things in my desktop. Okay, so I'm scheduled to finish in a few minutes' time. Questions? If not, I'm going to pass the time back to Anders. Any questions? Please say no.
Oh.
No. Okay, go. Okay, come, go on.
Hi everybody. Hi, Terence.
Hi.
It's so great. I have no questions, or probably question may come up later, but
Okay.
I really appreciate your presentation, and for me, between the hypno and NLP, sometimes I think there's a distance between the NLP and hypno. That's why practicing and why training or why treating people, coaching people, I use mixture of NLP and hypno. But today, when you mentioned that the NLP is a form of hypno, and especially when you mentioned about the process of NLP, it's the IR, internal, then it's a new opener for me, and I feel more relaxed and more what to say. I mean that it's more connected to each other, and I feel more confident while I'm using this and that. And actually, when we are coaching, we are not using just one technique. We are using timeline therapy, we are using NLP, we are using hypno, and maybe sometimes other kind of techniques. But I mean that I really feel so great with your presentation. Thank you so much. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I really enjoy it.
Anyone else? Well, that's really true because the way we approach, or at least the way I approach it is very eclectic in model. And that is you have the best of everything. And if you actually look at the way we do in terms of NLP coaching and how we coach using NLP is having the element of NLP, which is really great. And then you add on with timeline therapy and you put in with hypnosis and then with the coaching frames and all, especially coaching with values level, it's completely different. It's a game changer. It really is. There is no other process that I know of that is able to bring in such a smooth transition in terms of breakthrough, or even in business coaching, or even in life coaching and all. I do career coaching, I do business coaching, I do breakthrough coaching, and I take on very complicated cases. I just love it because I'm intrigued with what's going on inside. But it's really the whole eclectic model. And I can say this because some of my friends are coaches that is from different modality, that their trainers ask them to get in touch and learn NLP because as part of a prerequisite for their coaching processes. I think that's really wonderful. I think we are doing a great work. So for those of us who are NLP trainers, congratulations, you are really onto something that is very powerful. For those of us who plan to be NLP trainers, what are you waiting for? Yeah. Those of us who are NLP trainers but is not thinking of being a master trainer, that's the one that Kai was talking about. Again, what's stopping you? You're already a trainer. What else you want to do? Yeah. So something like that. Okay. Anything else that you'd like to say? If not, yes.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm really new to this community. I'm just a certified hypnotherapist.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I just want to know, like, moving forward, like it's been so eye-opening listening to this conference. Moving forward, what's the next thing? I go into NLP training practitioner? That's my next step?
You should go into NLP practitioner that offers all 4 modalities.
All
NLP,
4 modalities.
NLP, hypnosis, timeline therapy, NLP coaching. Really, well, it sounds like I'm biased because I'm training on this, but I know. I'm sorry, but I have been exposed. When I first learned NLP, my trainer only trains NLP.
Okay.
Only NLP, the segment of NLP. And there was no hypnosis, no timeline therapy, no NLP coaching.
Okay.
And now when I look back, it's so many things that is lacking. So I suggest if you want to make your money's worth, make sure there is 4 modalities.
I get it. And I'm going to get in touch with Candice to recommend for that. So if I've
Wonderful.
done hypnotherapy already, I still need to find a course which teaches hypnosis again.
Yeah, because you're going to get different angle anyway.
Okay.
And that whatever that you have done is going to add on, which is definitely going to be a benefit. You will love it. Absolutely.
And second question is, like, till the time that I begin this, as a hypnotherapist, as a certified hypnotherapist registered with the American Board of Hypnotherapy, how do I begin, or like at what point can I feel confident about taking on clients? Like, how do I begin my work?
How
like
do
I'm trained now.
Good. Okay.
And
You're asking
I
how do
remove
I start? How do I get out there? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. So let me just give you a bit of perspective. So I probably gonna answer this in 2 minutes. So number one is when I get myself trained and I would like to start my business, right? I know no one. That was my biggest problem. I had no one. So the thing you need to look at is that in your life, do you have anybody that would absolutely love it if you are successful? If they have, these are the people that's going to tell everybody else. Guess what? It wasn't my friend. It wasn't. I don't have a lot of friends. I live in a very small island that only have me and my family. Yeah. So that's all, and one coconut tree. I'm just joking. So the thing is this. My mom was the one that went and tell everybody that what I do. Can you imagine? And I was hopeless with marketing as well. And all you need is only one. That's one. So for me, the moment I got one, all I did was I jumped into it. I jumped straight into it and I follow the process. You need to make sure you have a process. If you're doing hypnotherapy, make sure that your process is solid and you just run the process. That's number one. I tell my students in my training when they are certified as practitioner level, I give them a task. They have to find 2 clients that they do pro bono. Yeah, they either go and work with an NGO, I don't care. You have to find 2 that you do pro bono. That is to get them to install and have the neurology for doing the NLP coaching. That's what it is. Yeah. So to answer your question, first and foremost, find somebody to help you to remove the limiting decisions that you have. And then get the first client. If it helps,
okay, so
do it.
I don't have to I don't need to wait for finishing my NLP training before I start getting my first client for my hypnotherapy, right? I can get into that right away.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have that one friend who can get out for me and talk to people for me. And I have already done many pro bono because for this certification, I had to do like 40 plus, 50 plus hours of practice. So I've done many sessions already as a voluntary work.
Okay, so Nida, go and do it tomorrow, paying clients.
Okay.
Decide how much he's going to pay you and then go and do it.
Okay. Thank you.
don't hate me for saying. Candice, or is it Candice?
Thank you, Terence. This is Amy here. I just want to thank you about the self-talk. It is really very useful because I use self-talk on myself. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
I'm grateful for your sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you very much, Terence. Are there any other questions before we take a 15-minute break? If anyone is wondering where Mark went, Mark is teaching master practitioner. He may be back in the next hour. So I'm just taking over. We have one more speaker left, which I'm excited to announce. But if there's no question, we can go into a 15-minute break starting now.
Thank you, everybody.
I have a question
you,
before you go. One question. May I?
Yes, Rola.
Okay. I've done the Master NLP and I'm a hypnotherapist. And throughout my practice, I noticed that the main challenge that we face is people find it hard to sit in stillness. So, and I think that is a major thing to take into consideration. So what I found difficult for them is that at a time they feel that they are just trying to find a way to manage their thoughts, find a way to handle all the conflicting emotions that are surfacing, and sometimes the reflection on a certain emotion is driving them back into a certain pattern. So I think this is something crucial to cover, and I think that we as therapists, we should consider entering an area where we focus on the importance of meditating, breath work, sitting in stillness to sort out the monkey mind that people face, and I'm one of them. So it took me a lot of work to get into this phase where I can sit and in stillness and make these thoughts quiet so I can focus on what is important. And this is something we as therapists, we sometimes ignore. We just focus on the therapeutic work. And I think this is something that we should recommend to all of our clients. Dedicating time for stillness, for meditating, for breathing, for contemplating, for being the witness of our thoughts, our emotions. And I noticed we barely talked about this, and I believe from my experience that it's something really important, and it should take a big part in the therapy itself. I don't know if you agree with me. I'm sharing just my experience. So I thought I'd share it with you as well.
Absolutely. And I think those are the things that we can give as a task to our clients to start training them to notice and try to quiet down the things. You're absolutely right.
But the point is they don't know how. I try to teach my clients how to sit and meditate. You tell them go and meditate, and giving them the tools of how. This is challenging, really, and I'm sharing it because I think this is going to be helpful for everybody who wants to see results. So
yeah,
I can give you a tool and I tell you go meditate, but if I don't teach you how, it's like telling you go make a pizza. It's easy. You just need this and this and this, but I'm not guiding you on the steps of how to prepare what you should be in the tools to be able to be a witness, to be able to have this empathy when you're dealing with your own conflicts. These tools, is there any way that, or any kit that can help anyone who's in need that we can share? I was thinking about creating a toolkit for that, because it's really challenging. There's a lot of ways to meditate and there's a lot of practices out there, but all of them lack something. And I think the only thing that they lack is the true empathy, the authenticity that we share with our clients when we're working with them. And I heard from clients that they don't feel, you know, sometimes they feel, okay, you're here with me, you're doing the session, and then I have to go and sit alone. But then I feel that I'm not good enough. I need this support. I need this empathy. I need this compassion to keep me, to fuel me. Because sometimes the people that go to therapy are the people that feel a lack of love, because when you're loved enough, you're filled up. So it's healing automatically.
I think, yeah, I think this is really good what you call suggestions. And that's why the importance of being in the community is so important, because the suggestion comes up and we could start a project where a few of us get together and come up with the best, best way of creating a process for people. So
I'm happy to be in this community. If you would like to do something.
So Candice can get in touch with Candice, and then we see who are the people that would like to be in a project like this, and then we can. This is the part where we say contribute to the community, so everybody grows together. Really, really wonderful.
Yeah,
I really got to go. We know about the trainers better, but I really got to go. Okay.